I'm Alexa, and this is Alexa Does Romance. My name's in it. That's pretty cool. All right, so the book I'd like to tell you about today is Loaded by Roxie Noir. Oh, I love this book. So the story is about Alex, or Alejandro, and he is in a gang in Los Angeles, and the gang is like a huge deal. Like they run a bunch of stuff, they make a lot of money, things are great for them. So Alex's leader is like, hey, I need you to do this job for me. And he's like, oh man, I don't wanna. And he's like, too bad. So basically, what he wants Alex to do is that they had hired an accountant to launder their money and handle some stuff. And then now they think that accountant might talk to the feds. You don't want that. So their plan they came up with is that they're like, okay, Alex, we want you to go to this wedding, and the accountant's daughter, Tessa, is going to be a guest at this wedding. We want you to drug her drink, take her out of the wedding, put her in an SUV, and then we're going to have someone drive the SUV to our safe house north of Bakersfield, and we're going to keep her hostage there until her dad doesn't talk to the feds. Foolproof. Genius idea. Nothing can go wrong with that. Everything's perfect. Gonna work out great. Obviously. So, Alex gets like the photo of Tessa and is like, damn. But he's like, no, I have to be professional. I'm professional. I'm a professional man. I got this. So he dresses up all nice. Oh, he's very handsome, by the way, because like, duh. And he goes to the wedding and he sees Tessa and he's like, ooh. Tessa actually sees him and is like, ooh. Tessa is obviously her dad's an accountant, but she's at this wedding for her friends. She's there alone. She doesn't have a date, and worst of all, her ex-boyfriend's best friend is at the wedding and keeps like looking at her like, ugh. And she's like, ugh. So she's not having a great time. She's like, eh. So she's kind of walking around the reception, and she realizes she probably should have gotten her dress like hemmed a little bit more. It's pretty long. And as she's walking along, of course, a woman steps on her hem. She trips. She goes to fall. And then Alex reaches out and grabs her and like saves her. And she's like, oh, hey. And he's like, oh, hey. Now, Alex was not supposed to talk to her. He was just supposed to like blend in with the crowd, like drug her drink, grab her out, get rid of her. The end. But now he's like, oh no, we talked. Uh-oh. And then they start chit-chatting, and then they like get along like gangbusters. They have the best dialogue. They have so much fun together. I love it. So they're enjoying the wedding together, and then eventually like, Tessa gets a little bit tipsy and like starts like grinding up on Alex, and he's having the time of his life. He's like, this is great. But he knows like he has to get Tessa out of the wedding and into this SUV. So he's like, oh, what do I do? But he's like, I don't want to drug this girl. That's awful. That's terrible. He's like, okay, well, maybe I just get her to leave with me. So he really likes her, but he's also like, I got to do my job. So eventually he gets her like, hey, I'm staying at the hotel, and gets her out of the wedding, gets her over to the SUV, opens the SUV door, shoves her in, shuts the door. Turns out it's one of these like crazy, like, I would think like a death trap, basically, where it's like bulletproof, and if you're in the back, you can't get to the front, you can't get out the sides. I mean, it just sounds terrifying. So he shoves her in there, shuts the door. Turns out the guy that's also part of his like gang that's supposed to drive her is like super hammered. Like he got drunk and he cannot drive. And then Alex is like, fine, I will drive her to the safe house north of Bakersfield. So he jumps in. He's like, great, now I'm stuck with this girl. Everything's gone terrible. He drives her out to the safe house, and then, has to keep her like, tied up and like trying to keep her fed. And it's like hilarious. They're in this like basically like a double wide in the middle of the desert, and all they have is like a VHS player, so they just watch old VHS movies, which is a delight. And they eat like canned food, and all the while Alex and Tessa, like, of course they're like because she was kidnapped. You guys, she was kidnapped. Like, That's not cool. But Alex gets to know her better. She gets to know Alex better. And then they go on a delightful adventure together, outrunning gang members and cops and God knows what else. So it is a delightful book and super sexy, very sexy. And I just like super enjoyed it. It's one of those books where after you read it, if you have like downtime, like if you're like driving your car or you're like someone's talking to you and you don't want to listen to them, I just like my brain like goes and like thinks about scenes that I created that happened in that book. Yeah. And Roxie's awesome. I adore her. She's so talented. I highly, highly, highly recommend. You'll be happy with any one of her books you pick up. So that is the very brief explanation of the book Loaded. I hope you enjoy.